Hey, I want to try and talk a little bit more about Super Mario 64, but I'm having trouble knowing where to come at this from, or which angle to come at it from at the moment. So let's see. The first thing that comes to mind, I think, is paintings. I want to think about the theme of paintings some more, because I've been noticing a few themes of paintings in Super Mario Sunshine, in fact, but I think I'll bring it back to Mario 64 after that. In Super Mario Sunshine, there are a few locations where paintings serve this sort of strange, mysterious function that they served in Mario 64. One of them I already spoke of, I think, in this channel, which is Delfino Hotel Delfino, where you can jump in through the paintings. And the paintings in the hotel take you to different locations. So they serve a similar sort of role as the ones in Peach's Castle did, right? They are portals to other worlds. And of course, Mario Sunshine is constantly echoing this theme because you're jumping into paint within the game itself. So it's remembering, its origin in some way. It's like a comment on Mario 64 in some ways. But so, yeah, Hotel Delfino has this thing where you're jumping into paintings, crushing through the paper of the painting itself, crushing through it into another room. So they serve as like secret passageways or entryways into passageways, into new areas, new hidden areas, hidden rooms. And then another example of this in Mario Sunshine is in Noki Bay, in fact. Because in Noki Bay, I noticed that there are engravings. They're not exactly paintings. Exactly, but they are little visual motifs, representations, symbols, little sort of engravings that are placed on the walls that then become the ruins that you can explore. And sort of almost as in a nod to the game itself, in a nod to Super Mario Sunshine itself, you spray water on them, the same way you would spray water on the other kinds of paint or, visual icons on the world. You spray paint on these icons, on these pictures, basically. I think, if I remember correctly, they may also even be framed. They're tiny, but they have this frame and it's like a picture inside. And when you spray water into them, what do? They sort of transform the whole landscape and open up like passageways into the temple. So through spraying them, you create these passageways that lead you towards the ruins. Well, they are the ruins in some way, at least. That's how I interpret it. All that big set of hidden galleries and staircases and passageways is the ruins. And so the rooms, all the different rooms, the galleries, passageways of the ruins are hidden from view. You can't see them until you spray water on the painting, and then it's, the location where the painting was becomes an entryway of sorts. At least that's how I think it was. It was like the exact location of the painting then becomes the entrance. You enter through the painting, so to speak, and the painting then becomes a series of rooms and passageways and so on, which were hidden before. You couldn't see them before. They lead to areas that were hidden before and that you couldn't access, other than through this method, through entering into the painting and so on. Okay, so those are two instances in Mario Sunshine where I think paintings play a similar role that they would in Mario 64. Yeah, so the ones in Sunshine, did I say that right? The ones in Sunshine are seem to be influenced unconsciously. They seem to echo the role that paintings played in Mario 64. Okay. I don't care if it's consciously or unconsciously. I don't care. But, so, we have this thing. And and so the next place I wanted to take it to, I suppose, is that the reason why this intrigues me is mainly because those two locations in Sunshine are locations where paintings serve as entryways, and you are in some sort of an area of ghosts. I'd like to argue why. In Noki Bay, it's twofold, I think. It's first of all because you are in the ruins, so that the little paintings serve as entryways into ruins, or they are within the ruins, right? The paintings are part of the ruins, you could say. They seem like maybe old inscriptions or something. And ruins are, on the one hand, places where people lived before and they no longer live in, right? So it's a ruin because it's something that belongs to the past. It belongs to an era where an era that that's lost to us now, so to speak. It's in the past. So in a sense, it's ghostly in this way, if you want to take it that way, right? In that it's a place that's filled with a use that was given to it that is no longer given to it now, or something like that. It's a use. Those places were inhabited before and are no longer inhabited now. That's why we call them ruins, right? So you're walking through a place that was inhabited. It sort of reeks spirit in this way. But also because it is a tomb. It's the tomb of the Noki King, I think. It's the tomb of the Noki King. So all those passageways that you take, all those different paintings that you enter through in some way, and it takes you to the center of the ruins. The center of the ruins, the central chamber, is the tomb of a king. So it's literally enshrining the spirit of a dead person, right? It's commemorating, honoring this dead king. And so we're dealing with the spirit of a king. Some sort of a ghost is at the center of these ruins. I feel also as if the fact that these are ruins may play into a video game trope that you see here and there, where ruins, ancient temples, and so on seem to be fairly utilized video game tropes and levels, the ancient ruins, the ancient temples, because it has this sort of adventurous side to it, I suppose. Well, not because, but it has this like Indiana Jones aspect to it, which makes it, I suppose, fitting for a video game, or I don't know, whatever. It has found itself in many video games. But also, ruins and temples, if we are to equate them, if what we're talking about here is not the ruin of an abandoned house, it's a slightly more like religious kind of ruin. It feels like an ancient temple of some sort. If that were the case, then also it's a house of ghosts in some way, because it is a house towards ghosts itself, towards spirit, towards some sort of some sort of notion of the divine within the game. Right? That's what a temple might be. It's a place where one enters in a sort of act of communion or dialogue with some sort of a notion of the divine or something. So then it's also spirit in that sense. However, then Hotel Delfino is also a place filled with ghosts. Right? We know this. It's slightly more explicit, let's say. It's a place just literally filled with ghosts. It's just ghosts flowing around everywhere, flying around everywhere, floating around. And it's this place where you enter into paintings in order to access different areas and so on. So it's like the place where you do this act of entering into paintings. I feel as if in both cases, I don't know what you think of it, but I think like a case could be made that in both cases, I feel like there is a notion of art on the wall which doesn't seem like it has a secret passageway behind it, but eventually does have a secret passageway behind it if you walk into it in some way. If you, whatever, I don't know what it is that you do, you focus your attention on it or something. And then those passageways lead you through a maze that is filled or is connected to dead people. Either booze or the dead Noki King. So I feel like in both cases there is this notion of dead people at the center or within the maze of passageways that are hidden, but that you can access through looking at paintings or something. There is some that kind of, the notion is within that sort of realm of notion, I feel. Okay, so what else? What could we say about paintings in that regard, right? Or in what could we say about paintings given these circumstances that connect them to ghosts and to spirit and all of this stuff? Well, one thing we could do perhaps is link it back to Big Boo's Haunt and see where we go from there. Big Boo's Haunt in Mario 64 is also a place filled with ghosts. Right? And yet it isn't exactly filled with paintings. Like that's not the idea of this level. Paintings aren't one of the main features of it. But there is an interesting connection, I feel, between Boo's Haunt and Hotel Delfino that maybe, I think we should explore. because in Big Boo's Haunt, you can at some point in the level descend down into Big Boo's merry-go-round, I think they call it, where you fall down into this area that's like a circling merry-go-round that's like characterized by fun, colorful visuals, and in the center of it is Big Boo. You fight a boss battle there. You fight a boss battle in this sort of rotating, fun place that is, if my memory doesn't, fail now, is underground. Is in an underground area of the mansion. Right? And if that's the case, then that's pretty much the same, as far as I can tell, from the kind of trope that we encounter in Hotel Delfino, where once again, you fall down underground. Under all this big area filled with ghosts, you fall down into an encounter with the Big Boo, but this time in a circling, fun area, right? It's oriented as a casino, as a what you call it, roulette. It's a roulette table, right? And but here you're fighting Big Boo again. I feel like those are two very similar boss battles. It's the boss battle of the big ghost boss is underneath, it's underground, in a place that is fun, It echoes circuses and amusement parks in some way, or just casinos, this sort of stuff. A place of lights, color, sound, fun is present in both games. Admittedly, if I remember correctly, in Big Boo's Haunt, you fight several Big Boos, or you fight Big Boo several times. So that underground circus area is not like the definitive Big Boo battle. But I don't know. I find it visually interesting. It's visually interesting enough to feel that it's unique to these two games in some way, or that the idea of placing a fun circling area, a round circling area that is colorful, in both ghost areas is interesting. I feel like there is something to that, or something there. However, again, Big Boo's Haunt is not about paintings. It's mostly about seeing, I feel. Right? There's something about this area that's mostly about seeing. as I made another video about this, but the idea is, I feel that most of the tropes in this area have something to do with seeing. Most of the visual information is about seeing. And so, that to me makes it more interesting to see that the area is filled with books. Right, that's one of the main characteristics, I think, of Big Boo's Haunt, is that it's an area filled with books. There are loads of libraries in this house. It's just books in a lot of the areas of the house. And so that's the configuration that we're working with. That's sort of what I wanted to try and think about or think with. Those are sort of the areas that I want to look at. Because first of all, as like an off-the-cuff remark is, well, yeah, paintings are something you look at, and Big Boo's Haunt is a place that's oriented towards looking. Like a lot of the stuff is about looking. Boos don't like to be looked at, right? When you look at them, that's the main action that they avoid, and so on. There are eye decorations in the level itself. There's something about looking, I feel, and so maybe there is some sort of comment being made in the level about visual information, or the intake of visual information, or just the act of being seen. The act of being seen, and then the act of seeing. That could be it, right? Because you're seen by the big eyeballs. The big eyeballs see you. You see the boos. The boos are seen by you. And the area itself is sort of decorated with seeing. There's something about that. So, however, though, the underground, let's look back at the underground fun place. The underground fun place is weird because it depicts fun, but of course it's fun within a horror context, which is of course it's a trope of circuses, clowns, and so on being used as frightening horror movie things. But I think beyond that, to me, it evokes the idea of the fact that it's such a scary place doesn't deter it from having a fun area in the center of it or underneath it. There is this sort of fun place. Right? Why is there a fun place? After all, it's a horror area, so it should be a place of being afraid, of not wanting something. You don't want something, so you run away from it. You're afraid of it, right? And yet, in Hotel Delfino, there is this deep desire in the fun area. It's a casino, so it's a place you go because you want to go. There is something about that area that is indicative of human desire or something. You're going to this place because you want to go. You're not afraid of it. You're going there, right? And yet these two areas, the Big Boo's Haunt and Hotel Delfino, are ghost areas. So they are mimicking the horror trope that's connected to fear, to scary, ghost-infested places that you, in fact, do not want to go to. You're afraid of them. You don't want to go to these places. Right? You don't want to go to these places. So somehow it's like the place that you don't want to go to is in some way, at the bottom of it, fused with something that you do want to go towards. Right? I think that this insight is being highlighted in these two areas. This thing of there's something that you do want to go towards, and this may have something to do with the paintings, perhaps, because paintings are something you see. Again, so it's something you see that highlights visual information, seeing, perceiving. Perceiving something you hadn't seen before, right? That's funny. Isn't that maybe what the paintings are saying is there is a hidden passageway behind the painting which you hadn't seen before. You hadn't seen this passageway before. And so, once you see it, you're able to walk through it. Once you see it, you can access it. It's as simple as that, somehow. It's just, it's a place that you hadn't seen, like maybe the painting symbolizes, this painting framed on the wall, and you're sort of standing there looking at it. It represents the act of purely kind of discovering. It's something that you discover. It's something that you see. Yeah, I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around that one. It's like it's almost as if the only reason that a painting is used as the entryway into worlds in Super Mario 64 is because paintings are simply things you look at, and therefore they are things you see. And these worlds are worlds that you see. If you didn't see them, you wouldn't be able to go towards them. Right? Almost like the way that the game also uses water to signal this fact, right? Because there are all these areas in this game where water is obscuring some sort of a passageway, and then once the water descends, you're able to enter through the passageway and see that there was even a passageway in the first place. So I think like the game is playing with this idea that there are areas that you can't see. So look at it like maybe it's for example this. The first area, Bob-omb Battlefield. You can't see it before you enter through that door. But once you enter into that door, there's a huge painting on the wall of Bob-omb Battlefield. Once you see that painting, you've seen that world. You've in some way become aware that it even exists. And in becoming aware that it exists, you're able to jump in to it and through it. Anyway, I think this may have something to do with the boos and why the boos are seeing and being seen. And being seen is such an important thing in this game. It's important, and it's scary. It's scary. There's something that is frightening about it. Yeah, there's something that's frightening about it. I think that's what the boos are signaling.